Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Daniela Blanco, and I am the co-founder of Synthetics, where we are making the chemical industry green, starting with nylon, as we offer the only cost-effective path to manufacture it sustainably. In order to understand how I got here, let me show you my story. Let me introduce you to the 3-year-old me. I was born in tropical Venezuela, located at the north of Latin America. Only daughter to this beautiful lady, my mom, who's unbelievably sitting here with us today. She is a single mom, and she is the bravest and most loving woman that I know. It has always been the two of us for as long as I can remember, and she has always been the biggest supporter of my dreams. I think I was 4 years old the first time I told her that I wanted to do science, but the good kind of science, the kind of science that helped people. And even as a single mom who was a female engineer fighting harsh discrimination in a male-dominated field, she only taught me that there were no limits to what I could accomplish. And she was then willing to sacrifice everything for this dream of mine. In fact, as I grew up, she wanted to enroll me in one of the best schools in Venezuela, the one where the top scientists in our country were formed. It was too expensive for us. But as I argued that, she only replied she didn't think it was a good excuse for us to quit on my dream. Thanks to her, I had awesome professors that awoke my passion for chemistry and eventually led me to graduate as a chemical engineer from the best engineering school in Venezuela. Venezuela, a country that fundamentally depended on its chemical industry. And there I was, a girl dreaming of innovating this industry, of taking these old polluting plants and transforming them into this. However, it didn't matter how big I was dreaming, because my country collapsed. And this is what happened to my home. And it wasn't just a matter of having the roads blocked, filled with fear and tears and chaos for me to get to school, but it's more the fact that I witnessed the mystery of our future. I was dreaming big, but how was I supposed to succeed if I was surrounded by this? I needed to do more, I needed to grow more, and I needed to do something so that I could help fix this. So with my heart in a million pieces, I knew that I had to leave. And that's how I moved to the US and joined NYU and their PhD program in chemical engineering. Now, as I joined, people thought that the hardest part would be for me to succeed as a woman, as an immigrant with a language barrier, without economic resources from my family, or even with the knowledge that I was initially lacking. Because let me tell you, the first time I entered the lab, I didn't know what any instrument around me was. I had never seen them before. However, no one actually realized that the hardest part was going to be for me to live with my heart and mind in Venezuela, worrying and thinking about those that I loved the most. But I couldn't give up. So I worked very hard, and now I get to use my PhD to fulfill my dream. I get to innovate so that you, me, and everyone else who comes next can have a better future. Because if you look around you, in 2019, pretty much everything you see is made by the chemical industry. Now, the problem is that this industry has also become the third largest contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. And why? Because it uses heat to power chemical reactions, which comes from burning large amounts of fossil fuels and releases tons and tons of CO2. This is the way it has been done for decades. But I'm here to challenge the status quo of this industry, to reinvent the chemical industry as we know it. And what I want to do is electrify it. That means using electricity instead of heat to power chemical reactions, making these processes more efficient, safer, and renewable. These electrical reactions can be implemented in a variety of sectors, but I decided to start by looking into one of the largest processes, nylon. Nylon is used everywhere, from textiles to engineering plastics or even car parts. It holds a $35 billion market, and it is produced in a 3-step chemical process. Now, the demand for nylon is increasing so rapidly that it's causing huge shortages in the supply chain. Specifically, the first step to make a key component called ADN is the bottleneck. The problem is that companies that are making this chemical are running into 3 main challenges. Their current process is expensive, inefficient, and unsustainable, making their capacity increase costly and dangerous, and leaving a huge hole in the market. But that is exactly where synthetics comes in. Because with the technology that I developed, we can now offer that key component for nylon with a 30% price reduction, a higher efficiency, as we can use 50% less raw material and energy and produce half the waste. And finally, I designed the reactor to allow me to diversify the energy sources in a cost-efficient way. That means that if I decide to use solar energy, for example, we can offer the very same cost advantage while also being an emission-free process. If implemented correctly, this technology can avoid the emission of 2.4 million tons of CO2. And to put that in perspective, this is the same as if everyone in New York stopped driving their cars for the next 6 months. Now, this is exactly how synthetics enters the market, offering safety, efficiency, cost, sustainability, and scalability. For those that are leading the market, we match their best performance while also being sustainable and safer. For those using a similar route, we have higher efficiency and lower cost. And for those sustainable initiatives, we have major advantages in terms of cost and scalability. In the past year since we started, we have been able to pinpoint 5 potential partners, get 2 letters of intent, and we have raised over $240K from non-diluted grants and competitions, including the most prestigious startup competitions at NYU and the first prize of the Green Tech track at the University Startup World Cup. And now, I look back to this girl 2 years ago, graduating as a chemical engineer, with nothing but a big dream and no clue of how to make it true. And now I can only feel grateful and proud for how far we have come with the support of so many. But that's not the end, right? Now I'm going to keep moving forward, knowing that I am an entrepreneur with 3 main responsibilities. First, I continue the R&D for this process. I continue the research as part of my PhD at NYU. Afterwards, with my knowledge on this reaction, I lead the scale-up and development of this technology supported by PowerBridge and other potential partners. And finally, I co-lead the business of the company. On this side, this is how I am proud to be a hard tech researcher and entrepreneur because I get to do all 3 of them. I get to build a technology as part of the lab and then make sure that it becomes something important by building a business out of it. And then on the business side, with the support of an amazing board of advisors, I use my customer discovery and customer validations to shape my research. Because from there, I know what is needed on the solution, and I adapt to build a better product. A better technology for nylon production, a technology that we now need to scale up to disrupt the chemical industry. And that's how we started with the reactor that you can see on the right, the size of my hand, and we have now grown 15 times in size to the one that you can see on the left. That will allow us to produce 1 ton of the chemical per year. And now we have to grow to reactors the size of a printer for our first pilot plant to produce 100 tons of this chemical per year. Last summer, we visited one of the potential locations for this plant, which was Panama. And over there, we set grounds with the largest solar farm that offered this installation for our reactors, funding opportunities from these sources, and our goal is to have this pilot plant running by the end of next year to produce the very first solar-powered, cost-competitive nylon chemicals, which will be used by companies such as Lululemon and Swedish Stockings to produce the first nylon tights and yoga pants. And this is only the beginning. Because in the future, what I see is that I'll use this knowledge to treat water for hospital use and drinkable water in developing countries. And there is also an interest to produce clean and efficient routes for many other chemicals. Propiolic acid, for example, that is largely used in the food and cosmetics industry. And from there, I will only keep growing. Because now, I want to use this knowledge to transform the other sectors of the chemical industry one by one, turning synthetics into my platform to make the chemical industry green, one reaction at a time. And I don't feel discouraged by all the challenges that I'm going to face with trying to disrupt such a huge industry. Because without realizing it, my mom taught me exactly how to be an entrepreneur. She always encouraged me to find my purpose. And that is why I don't forget that I got into science because I wanted to help our planet. I wanted to help our people. She was always the perfect example of determination. And that is how, as a female engineer, entrepreneur, or immigrant, I keep fighting for my dream. Because whatever comes next, I know that just like my mom, I am unbreakable. And whatever lies ahead of me is not going to break me. It's only going to make me better. It is going to make me exactly the person that I need to be so that together with this amazing team, I can make synthetics a reality for your future, for mine, and for everyone else who comes after us. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniela. And now we have 10 minutes of Q&A.
Thank you so much, Daniela. Brought tears to my eyes. I have no idea how your mom sitting behind me is managing. I want to be like your mom to my daughter. So thank you so much. My question for you, you mentioned that you are a researcher and an entrepreneur. At EO, we always say you need to get to the point where you're working on your business and not in your business. Do you feel that you one day will be ready to not be a researcher anymore and to just work on the business?
Wow, what a hard question, right? Because science has always been a part of me. I have to admit that. However, I also have to say that as I became an entrepreneur, I found this amazing thing. And it's the feeling that whatever comes next, I can deal with it because of what is inside of me. I feel like in science, like things go wrong and you are like aiming for either a publication or, to like make your professors proud. But sometimes you forget why you're doing it. What's going to be the application of that? And once I started working on the business, on seeing that I could actually do something important with my knowledge, I don't think I'm ready to leave that behind. So if I had to choose, I would definitely choose the path where I have learned that whatever comes next to me, I can learn how to deal with it. I can make it work, and I can make sure that all of my actions, all of my knowledge, and my life makes a difference. So I would choose to be an entrepreneur. Yes, please.
Thank you so much. As a researcher, I really connected with your story, and you are amazing. I have a question based on nylon. How did you become interested in that subject? Is it your professor, an expert in the field? How was that?
Yes, so my professor is actually not an expert in nylon, or was not. We started this project from scratch. We did it because we wanted to find an actual application for renewable energy sources that could be cost-effective and could actually reach the market. And it turns out that nylon is one of the processes that has the largest process where electricity has been implemented before. It is not efficient enough right now the way it is in industry to take all of the market, and that's why we decided this is a great opportunity for us to take that process, work in it, improve its efficiency to the point where we make sure that the entire market works like that in an efficient and sustainable way. So that's why we started with it. Yes, please.
Felicidades, Daniela.
Muchas gracias.
Could you please describe something that you love about your team and something that you don't?
Something that I love about what? Sorry?
Your team. Something that you love about your team and something that you don't.
Wow. Something that I love about my team is definitely the fact that we all trust each other and we complement each other. I feel like we find a strength in our differences. For example, my co-founder and I, we deal with mostly everything on our own. We're both chemical engineers. So at first, we thought that we were in a disadvantage, because we were facing teams that had someone in finance or in business, and then they had their tech person. We were both tech. So we were just not knowing anything else about the business. And we found out that we can learn how to do it, and especially because our personalities complement each other. We think about things differently. One of us is more optimistic than the other. One of us is more this than the other. And then we always find the balance. And one thing that I hate about my team, I don't think I hate anything right now, to be honest, but I guess something that I would love to improve is that I would love for us to have even more people who target the areas where we don't necessarily have a background. So far, we have been relying on our board of advisors and, our minds and our motivation to learn things that we have never learned at school. But I definitely think our team would be, it would be beneficial for us to have, for example, someone with an amazing background in finance who is just as committed as we are to this idea.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes?
Phenomenal presentation. I love the business. Tell us a little bit about yourself. So when you're not researching and you're not running your business, what do you do?
So as you might imagine, between the PhD and the business, that's pretty much almost all of my time. But I did realize once I started the PhD that I needed to make sure that I had a balance for myself to be happy and to be able to do this for in the long term. So I haven't really found one single activity that I love and that I dedicate all my free time to that, but I do go to dancing classes, I go to the gym, I go out with my friends. I pretty much call my mom every single day to talk to her. I Skype with my friends because, as you might imagine, we're Venezuelans, so we're scattered around the entire world, and we have to schedule our Skype talks so that we can support each other. So yeah, that's pretty much how I spend my free time. Whatever I feel like I need to do to, like just release the stress. Either it's running or going to the movies or doing something that just takes me out of it. I found a balance between like Monday to Friday work really hard. Weekends are for me if I need them. Thank you. Yes, please.
Daniela, you're probably going to disrupt the markets of some big corporations as you go after this this goal of yours. So what do you foresee as some of the big challenges and how do you plan to overcome them?
Yeah, thank you for that question. If I'm completely honest, the biggest challenge that we have is that this chemical, like this market, this step that we're working on to make that component for nylon is controlled by a duopoly. So it's huge industries that have had control of this market for decades. And every time somebody tries to enter the market, they just run them out of business because they control everything, right? And we know that. But we have decided that the smart thing is just to acknowledge that that exists and then prepare for it and find out a strategy to go around it. We're doing it in several ways. First of all, we have seen that sometimes they, like take technologies and then they just like hide them. So we are protecting our technology by decoupling the different features and getting like a barrier of IP to protect what we have. Second of all, as I am working on the scale-up of this step that we already have figured out, I also have ongoing research on the next steps to nylon, because if we go all the way to nylon, then we don't need to depend on that duopoly. Third of all, we are leveraging the fact that the duopoly's customers are tired of this duopoly. Because since they're controlling the prices and there is a huge shortage, they don't have a lot of freedom. So we talked to them and they told us that they would be incredibly happy to license the technology from us once we have reached this scale. And the fourth option, if all of that fails, is that we plan on becoming an R&D company to develop and do the research on sustainable and efficient chemical routes to produce different products. In fact, in the last 2 weeks, we were approached by one of these big chemical companies in the nylon business, and they already asked me if I could use this knowledge to produce a route for another monomer for a different type of nylon. So I know that it's going to be hard, but we are doing our best to go around the challenges that will come, and I can promise you that at least on my side, I won't stop until I see it become a reality.
Daniela, we need women like you in EO, so I'm curious to know what are your revenue projections and revenue ambitions?
I'm sorry, what are the projections on
your
our revenue?
Yes.
Yes, so this is a chemical industry, right? And then this is an economy of scale. We do know what we have done for the scale is that we have envisioned a multi-phase scale-up. On the first part, which is the one that I showed you for Panama, that's a 100-ton per year plant. And in that case, since we're still a small plant, because companies right now have like hundreds of thousands of tons, we will be either making at a loss, it will just be to prove the concept, or if the shortage is strong enough, the customers have told us that they will be willing to pay like a preferential, like a premium price for that because there is a huge shortage. After that, we'll reach 25,000 tons per. I actually have some slides on the. Well, we don't have them. It's okay. We'll reach 25,000 tons. That will bring the price down, and then at that point we're competitive. And then, oh great, okay, it's here. Oh, it's only here. Okay. Sorry. So we will. After that, we'll go to 25,000 tons, and oh yeah, there you go. And then that's the point where we have an even lower price than the one that the actual companies have right now. The difference is that as you scale up, the price will come more from the raw material and not so much from the operational cost, like the people that we have to pay for it, because that doesn't scale up linearly. So as we grow in capacity, it will be less significant. So to summarize, at first, we won't be profitable. We need to reach a certain scale, and that is 25,000 tons per year. Thank you. Yes, please.
I just love your energy. I feel your passion.
Thank you.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
In 5 years, 10 seconds, I will be graduated from my PhD, and I will be full-time working for my dream to make sure that we can reinvent the chemical industry, because I want to be a chemical engineer that is proud of the industry I work in. Thank you.